Yo, what is up, YouTube family? YouTube gang. Today I'm going to be doing part one of what if um Luffy was Kaido's son. So basically, I've been thinking about this for a very long time, and there's been a lot of One Piece theories, One Piece what ifs that I have jumbled up inside of my brain, but I just don't know how to scatter them. Like, what if Luffy was warped back in time? Like he could go back in Roger's era, since he's the droid. Now, this theory might be a little bit weird, but now that I'm thinking about it, I want to know, my man Luffy. I feel like when Roger said that his son was going to be the chosen one or Joy Boy, his son was actually the chosen one, and his son was Joy Boy. But then when he died to protect Luffy, that somehow got um, transmitted to Luffy. Maybe Luffy was like a second choice of the chosen one, or maybe Ace was the second choice of the chosen one, but instead the soul went to Ace instead of Luffy. Now I know that sounds like a crazy theory, like what are you thinking? But just think about it. So without further ado, let's jump right into this what if. So basically what's going to happen is Luffy is going to be, a kind of son. He's going to be called the Explosion King Luffy. The Marines are known for coming up with their horrible hat names. But when you think about it, who do you think could be Akainu's son? Like, nobody fits that position. Well, the only person who fits that position, but no, I couldn't be doing that today because it's a One Piece what if, It's not like anybody from My Hero Academia can fit Akainu's caliber. Wait. Yes, ding, ding, ding. There is one. His name is Bakugo. So, Deku's hair is going to be a different color. His physique is going to be a different color. He's going to have the explosion fruit. Now, listen. It is not the bomb fruit. They're two different things. So without further ado, start this. So Luffy is at Marine Ford. Marine Ford. As when he gets gets there, Whitebeard just notices that hair right away. As he then looks over at Akainu, and then he looks at Luffy, then he looks at Akainu, and then he looks at Luffy. He then asks Luffy, "Are you the son of Akainu?" As Luffy then nods his head and says, "Well, indeed I am." Now, I know it's really hard for you to picture Akainu getting with a girl, like this dude would probably melt the girl, you know what I mean? and not the way that you think. I'm not talking about, oh, okay, that sounds so weird. I'm not talking about that kind of melt. I'm talking about he'd literally melt her, you know? So, yeah. Let's just say his mother's fruit was an explosion fruit, his father's fruit was an explosion fruit, and somehow the fruits got inside of his body. So he can still swim and stuff like that. Because he didn't actually eat a devil fruit. It was transferred to him by his umbilical cord. it was transferred to him by sex. So, yeah. Luffy says, I always, he's like a brother to me. As Luffy then jumps from the rock as he's walking, he then says, I'm gonna get Ace and blast all of you to hell. As everyone says, temper, he's definitely related to a Kainu. We have to see if he's actually related to a Kainu. We just have to just have to check one more box. As Marines then go rushing at Luffy, Luffy puts both of one of his hands in place as he then sets off a ginormous explosion, and then Son Goku then nods. Yep, he's related to a Kainu. And then a Kainu seeing his son, then says, "It's finally my time to teach that brat what happens when he becomes a pirate." As Akainu then jumps from his position. Now Luffy is about as strong as an admiral. You know, he's stronger than Ace, and he's actually stronger than Marco. Like barely stronger than Marco, you know? As Akainu is standing right before Luffy, Luffy looks up at Akainu as he says, I'm gonna blast you all the way to hell. I'd like to see you try, boy. I can't believe that those are your last words before you die. As everybody thinks of this as brutal. Akainu then goes for a punch to Luffy. And then Luffy puts his hand in like a punch mode. Then he's going for a punch, but then stuff then comes out of his hands as it then explodes. As the attacks then both explode, Akainu's attack is rippled back. And now, when you think about it, Luffy's explosion is way stronger than Akainu's Akainu's lava. As Luffy jumps in the air, and then he sets off a chain reaction of explosions. Explosion after explosion after explosion. As he then tightens his fist to get sweat on them. And then he yells, Go to hell! Red Eye! No, I'm not gonna do Red Hawkeye yet. Red Hawk. He then says, Red Eye burn bastard! As a ginormous explosion then hits the ground as it ripples the ground and it sends everybody flying. So Luffy then gets back in contact with the ground. And then he rushes as Akainu says, you're not going anywhere, kid. As he then throws a ginormous explosion punch at Luffy. Luffy just turns back with his own attack as he says, Red Hawk! And then he punches Akainu. As he blasts Akainu, and they both collide fists. But then Luffy sets off a blast to Akainu's face, a Hawkian form blast. As Akainu's then sent flying back, he then says, You'll need way more than that to take me out. As he then creates a fist and then he throws it up in the air as lava then starts to fall down in Luffy's direction. Luffy then says, Mediocre explosion! As then all of a sudden they just go right back into the air and then they come falling down all over the battlefield. Luffy rushes at Akainu with a ginormous explosion punch as Akainu does the same. As they both clash, Akainu sent flying back and Luffy's just standing there. He says, I'm gonna show you who the real boss is. As he then sets off a lot of explosions which is hitting Akainu, sending Akainu flying. As then he does one more with his leg, and it's like kind of a it's like a shockwave explosion and it hits Akainu in his chest as he then sent flying back. Luffy then rushes out, but then Aokiji comes out of nowhere as Luffy jumps in the air and then he sets off a ginormous explosion which breaks Aokiji's ice. And then Aokiji creates a ginormous ice ball as he throws it at Luffy, and then Luffy punches the ice ball with his bare fist with Haki, which breaks the ice ball. as he then sets off explosions in his hands. And then he says, "You're dead!" And all of a sudden he says, "Human bomb!" As then, like, a ginormous explosion is then set around his body, which sends everyone flying and killing the weaklings. As then Okiji then sets off a cylinder attack of ice spikes from the ground as Luffy just jumps in the air. And then Kizaru comes out of nowhere as he blasts Luffy with a ginormous bomb. Luffy falls back on the ground as he says, "Y'all are cowards. Fighting me like this? I should have known the admirals would have wussied out." As they then just say, as Kizaru then says, you have no respect, son. I hope you learned something in your afterlife." As he then throws small explosion balls at Luffy. As Luffy covers himself in armpit hockey, and then he rushes at Kizaru as he does the same thing that Marco did, and he when he kicked Kizaru was acting like it was nothing, but then he went flying down into the ground as his feet hit the ground and nearly broke. Luffy is about to set off an explosion, but then all of a sudden, Okoji or Kuzan then hits Luffy with with a flurry amount of ice, as he then creates a ginormous ice fist, and then the other two admirals then get up, as as they say, as they say, "It was a pity you weren't a marine." As then they all fired their respective attacks at Luffy, and Luffy just smirks, biting his lip. Then he says, "Nuclear bomb! Level 2!" As then this is like a literal bomb, bro, which causes damage on all of Marineford. For sending leaving the admirals with third degree burns. A Kainu burnt on his chest and his arm. Uh, Kizaru burnt on half of his face and his arm and his legs and his feet. Um, Kuzan burnt on half of his face, his neck, his chest, and his legs. As as he's then taken out all of the admirals. As they say, he took out all of the admirals in one ginormous attack. As Luffy then pants, "Dang it, I won't be able to use my devil fruit for a little bit now." As Luffy then goes rushing into the vicinity, he fights the other extra marines. He says, "Move out of my way, you little extras!" As then Garp comes out of nowhere and he says, "You're gonna have to fight me." As this is where I'm gonna be ending off this with. Like, comment, subscribe, share to all your friends on your social media platforms. You too, we're out. Peace. Peace.